Good morning, Terry. Are you there? Their web browser. What are you talking about? Good morning, Terry. Are you there?
Hey, Deborah, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can finally hear you. But I've got a really bad echo.
Yeah, it looks like you may be logged on two separate devices.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of one. Is that better? No, that's not better. I don't know. I can't get you to come up on my desktop. And I can't see you. Hello?
Hey, Deborah, we can hear you. Maybe just mute one of the devices.
Okay. I'll just put it. Do that. All right. Is that better? Hello, Terry?
Much better. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. No feedback.
Okay, well, I can't, and I don't know, I can't get my video to come up either. I don't know what's going on with this. I've tried everything I know to do. Every time I do the WebEx, it tells me to install it, and I've installed it like 4 times, and it still won't.
Deborah, we can see you.
Okay, I can't see anything, so I don't know what's going on. Well, as long as you can see me, I guess that's okay. Okay, would you like me to start? As long as you can see me. Hello?
Just bear with us for about
Oh, that's fine.
minutes. Deborah, we're gonna give us let's wait till about 9:20. We got
Oh.
2 new members of the board. We're gonna get switched over to panelists today.
Okay, that's good. Help me. I'm gonna work on my desktop and see if I can get it. I'm gonna shut it down and restart it and see if I can't get the WebEx to come up. It comes up, but I can't. I can see my name, but I can't see any photos, and my video is not working.
Okay, is there an option at the bottom?
Yeah, I tried that, and it won't. When I click on it, it won't change. It comes up in the preview, but when I go join the event, it won't let me click on video. So I'm gonna try. I've restarted my computer. We'll see if that won't work this morning.
Hello, this is Hamilton. How are y'all this morning?
Good morning, Hamilton.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, Ms. Dryden, this is Jill Sanchez Myers. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you and I can see myself now, so I think I'm up and running.
Great. Do you have my number? I need to speak with you for one moment.
No, I do not have your number.
I'm gonna email that to you. Do you?
Yes,
Okay, give me 1 second. Thanks.
sure. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just had a brief conversation with Jill. We only have 3 board members with us today, so we're not a quorum, but we do have 2 new people who are coming on the board. One is Hamilton Court. I just spoke to him. And so we're going to delay the meeting until about 9:45 so that they can do a really quick introduction for these 2 new board members before we convene the meeting. So officially it is about 9:24, 23, 24. So we will reconvene at 9:45. And thank you for your patience this morning.
Okay, Deborah, everyone should be logging back on here shortly, so maybe about the next 5 minutes we'll be ready to go.
I'm ready when you're ready. I hope everybody logs back on. I told them 9:45. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Are we here, guys?
It looks
Krista,
like,
have you logged back on?
yeah, it looks like I have. I'm maybe waiting on the attorneys. Okay, everybody's on. Let me just make sure Lisa and Chad are on, ready to go. And
Okay.
that should be it.
All right. You let me know when I should start. I know, Terry, I need to make sure I have the names of the two new board members that are joining us today.
I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Okay, that'll be cool.
My name's Hamilton Court.
And I'm Tariq Hamid.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Deborah Dryden.
Good to meet you.
All right, Miss Deborah, we have a full quorum.
All right. Okay. Good morning. The February 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Charlotte Zoning Board of Adjustment is now in session. I'm Deborah Dryden, co-chair. Also sitting on today's board is Krista Long, Marshall Williamson, Hamilton Court, and Tariq Hamid. We have 4 members, so we are a quorum. Also present are Shad Spencer, Zoning Administrator, Lisa McCarter, Planning Project Manager, Terry Hagler Gray, Senior Assistant City Attorney, Jill Sanchez Myers, Senior Assistant City Attorney, Terry Edwards, Clerk of the Board, and Adkins Court Reporting Verbatim Reporter. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are conducting this meeting using a remote electronic platform. This is the second remote meeting in 2022 of the Charlotte Zoning Board of Adjustment, and I would like to ask for your patience as we proceed because there may be slight delays as we transition between speakers, participants, and presentations. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board that is governed by the North Carolina General Statutes and the Charlotte Zoning Ordinance. We conduct evidentiary hearings on requests for variance and appeals, among other requests. Before we begin to hear the cases on today's agenda, I would like to provide some important information on the steps that were taken to ensure that each party's due process rights are protected as we proceed in this remote platform. First, today's meeting will be conducted in accordance with special legislation passed by the North Carolina General Assembly in Session Law 2020-3 that allows for remote meetings in quasi-judicial hearings during declarations of emergency. Second, each applicant was notified before being placed on today's agenda that this meeting would be conducted using a remote electronic platform. Every applicant on today's agenda has provided signed consent to the board prior to conducting the evidentiary hearing on their request using this remote platform. Third, notice of this meeting was provided to the applicants and the public in several ways. Notice of today's hearing was mailed to property owners within 300 feet of each subject property and notified the property owners of the remote electronic platform, and the letters also stated to contact the city immediately if there were any objections to the cases being heard on today's agenda. Notice was also provided by placing signs on each property and by publishing notice on the city's website. The notices for today's meeting contained information about means by which the public can access today's proceedings. Finally, any individual wishing to participate in today's evidentiary hearings were required to sign up prior to today's proceedings. This information was also included on the board's website. Okay, the application for a variance from the regulations in the zoning ordinance. Applications for a variance from the regulations in the zoning ordinance, the order of the recommended agenda items will be as follows. The zoning administrator or zoning staff member will identify the case and recommend approval of the variance with any recommended conditions based on specific reasons. The chairperson will ask if anyone wants to speak in opposition. If there is such a person, then the case will be moved to the regular agenda and will be heard at a later date. The chairperson will ask if the board has questions of staff or if there is any reason the board wishes to move the case to the regular agenda. The chairperson calls for a motion and a second to approve the variance, and the chairperson will hold a roll call vote. The order of the agenda will be as follows. All parties who plan to give testimony, pro or con, must be sworn in. A zoning staff member will explain why a permit was denied or why a variance is requested. The board may question the staff member and then the applicant may question the staff member. The applicant presents their testimony for this case. The board may question the applicant and the staff member may question the applicant. The applicant may present sworn witnesses. They will be subject to questioning. Other parties wishing to speak, pro or con, will be given a reasonable time to present sworn testimony. The staff and then the applicant will be given an opportunity for rebuttal. The chairperson calls for a motion and a second to approve the variance, and the chairperson will hold a roll call vote. After hearing each case, the board will review each case and render a decision. This is usually done in closed deliberations after hearing each regular agenda case. However, the board may elect to take up to 30 days to render a decision. You may remain present during the deliberations, or you may call the zoning staff after the session to receive the decisions of the board. All exhibits must remain with the board. Exhibits are required to be provided to the clerk no later than 12 p.m. on Monday, February 21st, in order to be considered at this hearing. If your case is not appealed to Superior Court after 30 days, you may pick them up or they will be destroyed. If you feel there is a conflict of interest of any of the board members or an association that would prejudice your case, please let it be known at the start of your case. The board is acting in a quasi-judicial capacity for purposes of this hearing and can only accept sworn testimony. While the board will not specifically exclude hearsay evidence, it is only given limited weight. The North Carolina State Bar has issued an advisory opinion that it is the unauthorized practice of law for an individual who is not an active member of the bar to appear for another or otherwise assist or represent another at quasi-judicial hearings on zoning and land use matters. All applicants should have been provided with a copy of that advisory opinion as part of the application packet. If you are a property owner or a non-lawyer here on behalf of a property owner and have not received a copy of that opinion, please use the WebEx platform function to message the clerk. The documents will be provided to you. If, as a result of this advisory opinion, the applicant would like to request a continuance of his or her case, the board will consider such requests at the start of that case. Appeal from this board is to the Mecklenburg County Superior Court. You have 30 days from the date of the board's written decision in which to appeal, in accordance with NCGS 160A-388E. In order to receive a written copy of the decision, any aggrieved party must file a written request for a copy of the board's decision by filling out the form, which must be filed with the board's clerk or chairperson at the time of the hearing of the case. Please remember to mute your microphone when you do not intend to speak. You will hear 8 cases today, 7 recommendation agendas, and 1 regular agenda item. The first case is 2021-114, and it will be presented by Lisa McCarter. Clerk to the board will read the names of anyone who oppose a case. All right, Lisa McCarter and Shad Spencer, I would like to swear you in at this time. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll start with staff's presentation. All right, Lisa, whenever you're ready.
All right, our first case is a residential garage variance. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow an existing accessory structure to remain in the established setback. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings.
Lisa, did you send us the finding of facts?
They should have been sent. If you don't have them, let us know and we can resend them.
Okay, I'm checking to see where they are.
Deborah, it should have came in at around 8:05 this morning.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
resend them if you need to.
No, I just didn't check my email early this morning. That's okay. We can go on. Oh, I got it. Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the area. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The zoning is R3, single-family residential. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property, and it shows the front of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. In October of 2021, a notice was issued for a garage built without a permit in the established front yard on the property. The zoning ordinance does not allow an accessory structure to be placed in the established front yard, and that's the area between the house and the road frontage. And you can see the photo of the garage that was constructed in that photo in the center. Exhibit number 6 is the variance request. The applicant is seeking a variance to locate the accessory structure in the established setback for compliance so that they can get a building permit. And in the plan, the garage is highlighted in yellow. Exhibit number 7 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship isn't caused by the applicant and is caused by property conditions. There's extreme topography on the property. You can see to the left of the screen, there are 22-foot and 27-foot grade changes to the side and rear of the property. There's also marshland to the side and rear of the home and a 7-acre pond with a natural dam. The marsh and pond area is shown in light green to the left. In the middle of the screen is an aerial view of the pond, and to the right is a photo submitted by the applicant of the natural dam. There's also a septic tank and leach field between the home and the pond, and that's shown in darker green to the left of the screen. Exhibit number 8 is further considerations. Strict application of the ordinance would prevent the placement of the garage on the property due to constraints to the rear of the home. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. Although it is located in the established setback, the garage is compliant with the required setback. The established setback of the 1979 home is 185 feet, which is far deeper than the required 30-foot setback. The garage meets the 20-foot garage setback requirements and doesn't cause any public safety issues. Exhibit number 9 is photos. The first photo is a view of the garage from Capps Road, and a photo submitted by the applicant that shows some of the topography of the property. And that's the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
Does the board have any questions for staff?
I do. The original zoning notice of violation was because we didn't have it was built without a permit. Is that correct?
That's correct, and also because it's in the location in front of the home and the established setback.
Any other questions for staff? Are the applicants here?
Yes, Miss Sarah Martin and her husband. Let me go ahead and they both should be panelists, so they should be
Okay.
able to unmute themselves.
You're both here. Yes.
Okay, Sarah Martin and Just Host, I have to swear you in. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Deborah,
Yes.
you would have to take the item off the recommendation agenda if you'd like to ask questions to the applicants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I wasn't going to ask any questions. I just wanted to know if they had any comments. So it has to come off the regular agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then. Oh, I see. I don't have any questions for them. I apologize for doing that out of order. So if the applicants want to give their testimony, then I have to take it off the regular agenda and add it to the recommended agenda?
So currently it's on the recommendation agenda, so the applicants would not be addressed or you wouldn't be able to ask them questions.
Okay.
If you wanted to ask them questions and have them speak, then you need to put it on the regular agenda.
Okay. Because on my paperwork, it was on the regular agenda. But that's okay. All right, I don't have any questions. Thank you. I apologize for that. So if staff, do we have any more questions for staff, for the applicants? If not, then this concludes the presentation of evidence. The board will now begin its deliberations. Interested parties are not permitted to address the board during the portion of today's meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board's discussion and vote. All right, let's have some discussion. Ms. Long, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Mr. Williamson, any comments? Mr. Court, any comments?
No comments.
Mr. Tariq, Hamid, do you have any questions?
I have no questions or comments.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this variance?
I make a motion to approve the variance.
Hamid
Do I have
second.
a second?
Hamid second.
All right. We will now take a roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long as yes.
Mr. Court,
Court is yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid is yes.
and Dryden votes yes. So the variance is approved. Now we have call for a motion on the finding of facts and conclusions of law. Do I have a motion to adopt the finding of facts and conclusions of law as written?
I make a motion to adopt as written the findings of fact of law.
Do I have a second?
Hamid second.
Okay. All right, and now we'll do the roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid yes.
Dryden, yes. So the variance is approved. Thank you.
Madam
Okay, the
Chair,
next, yes,
this is Jill Sanchez Myers, counsel for the board. Can we confirm whether Mr. Williamson is still with us or will be participating in the next or in the upcoming hearings, just so we know how many board members we have?
I don't know if he's here or not.
Williamson, are you here?
He didn't respond when I called his name.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you,
Williamson's
Mr.
here.
Williamson.
I'm here. I didn't know if I was acting as an alternate or a board member in attendance.
Yeah, Mr. Williamson, this is Chad Spencer. Yes, you need to be sitting on the board today because we only have, so with you, we'll have 5 members.
All right, I'm here and I vote yes to the previous items.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. All right, the next case on the agenda is case number 2022-002. Hey, Lisa.
Okay, this next case is a residential watershed buffer and setback variance. And this item should be on your recommendation agenda. We've had no opposition yet, and staff is in support of the request. And I'll give you a minute to look at your findings if you just let me know when you're done.
Okay, Lisa, you may continue.
Exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The zoning is R5 single family, and the property is located in the Lake Wiley Critical Area Watershed Overlay. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property. And this close-up shows the 100-foot Lake Wiley Watershed Overlay buffer. And that's kind of in a yellowish brown, and you can see that it covers most of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. The property was subdivided in 1961, and that's prior to the adoption of the Lake Wiley Watershed Overlay Regulations in 1993. So the property is exempt from the maximum 24% built-upon allowance. The application does include a variance request from the built-upon allowance, but it's not necessary since the property is exempt from that requirement. The property is subject to the 100-foot watershed buffer along Lake Wiley, and you can see from the aerial, again, that most of the property is covered in that buffer area. The property is also subject to the required 20-foot front setback of the R5 zoning district. Exhibit number 6 are the 2 variance requests. The applicant is requesting a 5-foot variance from the 20-foot setback and a 50-foot variance from the 100-foot buffer in order to construct a single-family home on the property. Exhibit number 7 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance with 2 conditions: that the applicant obtain an approved buffer revegetation mitigation plan, and that all driveways be a minimum length of 20 feet. The applicant has agreed to the proposed conditions. The applicant didn't cause the hardship, and the hardship does result from strict application of the ordinance because the property was subdivided in 1961 prior to the adoption of the 100-foot watershed buffer requirement. And the buffer covers most of the property. So a single-family home couldn't be constructed on the property without a variance. The variance would not alter the character of the neighborhood because there have been 14 other variance requests from buffer requirements along Riverside Drive. In the aerial to the left, the parcels in red are those that have had variances. The variance assures public safety through the condition requiring approved revegetation mitigation plan for buffer disturbance. The home won't encroach into the 50-foot state watershed buffer. Exhibit number 8 is more considerations. The condition that all driveways be a minimum length of 20 feet also upholds public safety. There are 2 driveways shown on the plan, and one is labeled as 15 feet in length due to the proposed encroachment of stairs. The applicant has stated that the location of the stairs will not prevent the full use of the 20-foot driveway. And the 5-foot encroachment of the stairs into the front setback will also prevent further rear encroachment into the watershed buffer. Exhibit number 9 is a photo of the property, and that's the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
No questions.
Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the variance?
I make a motion to approve the variance with the 2 conditions that staff has suggested.
Do I have a second?
Williamson, second.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Hamid, we'll take a roll call vote.
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Dryden, yes. So the variance is approved. Do I have a motion to approve the finding of facts as written?
Court move to approve the finding of facts.
Thank you, Mr. Court. Do I have a second?
Long seconds.
Right, we'll do the roll call vote. Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
and Dryden, yes. Okay, the finding of facts are approved. Thank you. Okay, Lisa, the next case.
All right, our next case is also a recommendation item. It's a commercial transitional setback and parking variance. And I'll give you a couple minutes to look over your findings if you just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Lisa. Thank you.
All right, exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned I2 General Industrial. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map of the property. And exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. The property has a 1940 medical clinic on it, and it's located on Wilkinson Boulevard. Wilkinson Boulevard is a Class 3C thoroughfare, which requires a proposed right-of-way of 75 feet measured from the center line of Wilkinson Boulevard. And the aerials from the 70s versus today, you can see the depth of the property has decreased due to past right-of-way acquisition. Exhibit number 6 is background. In 2019, variance 2019-089 was approved for the property. The applicant was granted a variance to eliminate the 20-foot transitional setback for the property and also granted a 5-foot variance from the proposed right-of-way to construct a new front entry on the existing building. Exhibit number 7 is the variance requests. The applicant now wishes to redevelop the site. In the applicant's site plan, you can see the existing Wilkinson Boulevard right-of-way and existing 20-foot I2 setback in green. The applicant wishes to redevelop the site with a new medical clinic facility, which will trigger compliance with the 75-foot proposed right-of-way and 20-foot transitional setback measured from the proposed right-of-way. And those are both shown in red. So the transitional setback area is in yellow. The new 17,770 square foot medical facility will require 89 parking spaces. The applicant is requesting 2 variances for the redevelopment of the site. To eliminate the 20-foot transitional setback, which is there shown in yellow, and a 20-space reduction of the required parking spaces to permit 69 parking spaces. The proposed development will be outside of the proposed 75-foot right-of-way along Wilkinson Boulevard and will meet the existing 20-foot setback. Exhibit number 8 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship is not caused by the applicant and results from conditions of the property. There's topography on the property with a 20-foot grade change along the property depth. You can see the slope in the photo to the right. The applicant states this makes the north side of the property insufficient for parking, circulation, and pedestrian access. There is decreased property depth from past right-of-way acquisition of Wilkinson Boulevard, which in addition to the required transitional setback requirement, makes providing required parking difficult. Exhibit number 9 is more considerations. The variance will not alter the character of the area because many other properties along Wilkinson Boulevard have encroachment into the proposed right-of-way and transitional setback area. The request meets the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. Although the parking reduction would not be permitted through ordinance provisions, the applicant is not requesting over a 25% reduction in parking. The applicant is proposing to mitigate for decreased parking through agreements with local churches to provide 30 spaces each for this facility. Since the two churches exceed the permitted distance to locate off-site parking in compliance with the ordinance, the applicant proposes to provide a shuttle service. Exhibit number 10 is considerations. The variance will uphold public safety because the applicant's proposed plan provides an interconnected street network or pedestrian network throughout the site, This image shows the proposed plan overlaid on the existing site. The proposed plan will provide a sidewalk and crosswalk connection between the bus shelter and front of the building. Currently, there is no front door on the building, and customers coming from the bus shelter have to access the rear entry to the building by walking down the hill to the side of the building, using the parking lot driveway, or using Donald Ross Road since there is not a sidewalk on Donald Ross. The proposed plan will add a sidewalk on Donald Ross and eliminate one of the two driveways. The Charlotte Department of Transportation has no objections to the variance, and the Charlotte Area Transit System states that the location of the Link Silver Line has moved since 2019 and is no longer adjacent to Wilkinson Boulevard at this site. Exhibit number 11 is a photo of the property, and that's the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
Does the board have any questions for staff?
So this is Court. Was the purpose of the transitional setback related to the silver line?
No, it is a requirement for all thoroughfares, so it would be related to any right-of-way that the Charlotte Department of Transportation might need in the future for road widening. So we reach out to them when we have cases like this that involve the transitional setback and transitional right-of-way and get their input, and they've said that they don't have any issues with this request.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve this variance?
Long makes a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Do I have a second?
4 seconds.
Okay. We'll now do a roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
and Dryden, yes. Do I have a motion to approve the finding of facts and conclusions of law?
Williamson, motion to approve
Do I have a second?
the findings of
Second.
fact.
I'm sorry, who? Who was the second?
Long seconds.
Thank you, Long, Ms. Long. Okay. Ms. Long, a roll call vote.
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
and Dryden, yes. So the finding of facts is approved. Thank you. All right. Lisa, the next case, 2022-008.
All right, this case is also a recommendation item. This is a residential rear yard and setback variance. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings if you just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Lisa, you may continue. Thank you.
Exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The zoning is R5 Single Family, and the property is located in the Wilmore Local Historic District. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map of the property. And exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. The property was subdivided in 1914 and it's zoned R5, so there's a required setback of 20 feet and a required rear yard of 35 feet. There's a non-conforming single-family home on the property that was built in 1931 prior to the ordinance requirements, and the home has an established setback of 4.7 feet and an established rear yard of 7.5 feet. Exhibit number 6 is background. The applicant obtained a variance in 2021 for an addition to the side of the home, and that permitted a 17.4-foot setback and a 12.5-foot rear yard. Exhibit number 7 is further background. During the construction of the addition, an engineer found that the main home had structural issues, and they prevented renovation. The home would need to be demolished and rebuilt. Earlier this year, the Historic District Commission approved the demolition of the home with conditions. In speaking with HDC staff, which is the Historic District Commission staff, it is the intent of the conditions that the home be rebuilt to replicate the appearance and placement of the existing home. Demolition and rebuilding of the home is considered redevelopment, and the new home will be subject to the current setback and rear yard. Exhibit number 8 is the variance requests. The applicant is requesting 2 variances to rebuild the home in its existing footprint and allow a 4.7-foot setback and a 7.5-foot rear yard. Exhibit number 9 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship is not a result of actions taken by the applicants. The existing home was constructed in 1931 prior to current zoning regulations, and the applicant purchased the property in 2020. The hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property because the lot size is smaller than the current minimum lot size for the district, and the lot depth is less than most others in the area. Granting the variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood because there was a variance granted for the neighboring property to the north in 2016 for a 10-foot setback and 10-foot rear yard to allow the construction of a single-family home. Exhibit number 10 is considerations. Further considerations are that since the property is located in the Wilmore Local Historic District, plans for the new home will require Historic District Commission approval. The HDC is in support of the requested variance to permit the reconstruction due to the structural issues of the existing home. No variance is needed for the side yard because the side yard can be measured from the center line of the alley that abuts the property. And exhibit number 11 is a photo of the subject property. That's the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
Lisa, I just want to clarify that the Historic Commission has already approved the plans for the construction of the new home.
They approved the demolition of the existing home, and if the variance request is approved, then the applicant will need to bring plans before the Historic District Commission for their approval.
And they will approve those on condition that the house remain the front of it pretty much what it is right now?
Yeah, the idea is that they replicate the existing home in the rebuilding.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff?
This is Court. I guess I don't know that I necessarily have a specific question. So there's a 5-foot or 4.7-foot established setback, and when we're granting this variance, it'll allow a 4.7-foot setback for the entire length of the property, and Historic District's approval is the only thing that's going to prevent that from only being a porch. Or if Historic District said it was okay, they could build the whole house at 4.5 feet from the edge of the road. I mean, there's no sidewalk. Well,
I think I understand what you're trying to say. Like, what is the teeth that they rebuild it exactly as it is? In the Historic District Commission's approval, they had 4 conditions. And the purpose of those conditions was so that they would have to approve the plans for the rebuild, and the rebuild mimic the original home. So the new home looks like the original home. And so you could see that on Exhibit 7. Is that kind of what you were asking?
I think so, yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, is there do we have a motion to approve this request?
Hamid, motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Do I have a second?
Long makes
Williamson,
a
second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williamson. All right, roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Or yes,
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
and Dryden, yes. Okay, it's approved. Do I have a motion to accept the finding of facts and conclusions of law as written?
Hamid, motion to approve finding of facts.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Do I have a second?
or second,
Thank you, Mr. Court. Okay, a roll call vote. Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Court,
or yes,
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
and Dryden, yes. So finding of facts is approved. Thank you. Right. Lisa, the next case.
Excuse me, Chair, this is the clerk, Terry. If I've direct messaged any attendees in the messenger, please direct contact me and let me know what cases you're here for. Thank you.
All right, the next case is a recommendation agenda item. It is a residential accessory structure variance to permit an accessory structure in the established setback. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings if you want to just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Lisa, thank you.
Right. Exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned R3, single-family residential. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map. On this aerial map, you can see that the property receives its frontage off of the cul-de-sac of Silver Fox Road. But there's also a shared easement between multiple property owners that lead down to Providence Road. Exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map. And exhibit number 5 is background. The property is approximately 20 acres and it has a single-family home on it that was built in 1955. The property has public street frontage on the cul-de-sac of Silver Fox Road, and the required setback for the property is 35 feet along Silver Fox per the 1998 subdivision plat. Exhibit number 6 is the variance request. The front of the home is oriented towards an interior private drive for the Greenwood neighborhood, and that's the easement that extends down to Providence Road. The established setback is the area between Silver Fox Road and the home on the property. The ordinance prohibits accessory structures from being placed in the required or established setback. So the applicant is requesting a variance to place a carriage house style garage in the established setback. You can see on this graphic the location of the established setback between the home and Silver Fox. Exhibit number 7 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship was not caused by the applicant and as a result of the property. The established setback is 650 feet, which far exceeds the required 35-foot setback and decreases the rear yard area. The home was built prior to the construction of Silver Fox Road, so the home placement and orientation didn't consider that the functional rear of the home would become the front yard. The applicants state they cannot place the structure towards the shared easement because it is the functional front yard, and it wouldn't be permitted by the homeowners association. Placing the structure to the south or left of the property is difficult due to existing structures, established trees requiring additional driveway construction, rock outcroppings, and a 35-foot post-construction buffer. Exhibit number 8 is considerations. The left side of the property also has significant topography with a 30-foot grade change between the home and property line. The proposed location will not require extensive tree removal or driveway extension. The requested variance will not be easy to detect because of existing vegetation and the size of the property. The applicants state that the garage will utilize carriage house architecture compatible to the existing home. Granting the variance will not cause public safety issues. Exhibit number 9 is a photo of the property from Silver Fox Road. And that is the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
I'm trying to get bearings. Is there a driveway access from Silver Fox Road?
No, there's not. Let me pull back up the. So here you can see the property with the red star. The driveway is actually coming in off of Providence. And if you can see my cursor, it's coming in through there.
But they have a Silver Fox Road address and says the front yard is Silver Fox Road?
Correct. So the house was built in the 50s, and that was prior to the construction of Silver Fox Road. When Silver Fox Road was constructed, it then became their street frontage. So their home was oriented towards this access easement, and then it's kind of the side of the home is towards Silver Fox Road.
And Lisa, they want to put the carriage house about where the red star is, right? In front of their house.
It's kind of to the side.
Well, to the side, but yeah.
Yeah, let me pull up that slide. So pull up
Can you
slide
pull out the
6.
front door as well?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Can you point out the front door of the house?
Yes, so this is the front door right here. And then the star is the location where they'd like to put the new garage.
Any other questions for staff? Any further discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Court motion to approve.
A second?
Hamid second.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Dryden, yes. So it's approved. Do I have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
I'll make some motion to approve the findings of facts.
Do I have a second?
Court second.
Okay. A roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. Finding of facts are approved. Okay. Lisa, the next case.
All right, our next case is a commercial access variance. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a residential local street to provide frontage for a small religious institution. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings if you just let me know when you're done.
Okay, Lisa.
All right, exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned R8, single-family residential. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map. Exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map. Exhibit number 5 is background. The property contains a small religious institution that was constructed in 1950. It has frontage on Justice Avenue, which is a local street. The code requires that small religious institutions have frontage and access on collector streets or major or minor thoroughfares. The church predates the frontage and access requirements and is non-conforming. And previously, in 1995, a variance was granted to allow the church to have primary vehicular access by a local street in order to construct a fellowship hall. Exhibit number 6 is variance requests. The applicant now wishes to redevelop the site by demolishing the existing sanctuary and building a larger sanctuary. The new development would be subject to the zoning ordinance requirements. The applicants are requesting a variance to allow the residential local road to provide frontage and vehicular access to construct the new sanctuary. Exhibit number 7 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship was not caused by the applicants and results from property conditions. The church was constructed in 1950 on a local road and doesn't meet current ordinance requirements. The applicant states the church has grown and the new sanctuary will allow an increase from 178 to 400 seats. The applicant states the existing church has structural issues. The requested variance is consistent with the intent of the ordinance since it will allow the church to continue use on the site. Exhibit number 9 is a condition. Staff recommends the condition that will help uphold public safety. And this is per the Charlotte Department of Transportation input. The applicant has agreed to the condition that in addition to the installation of required sidewalks along the frontage, the applicant shall install ADA compliant curb ramps on all corners of the intersection in accordance with the Charlotte Walks policy. Over to the left of the screen, you can see the subject property corner condition and the opposite property corner. The existing sidewalk on the site isn't connected. To the right, you can see the Department of Transportation's graphic showing the proposed curb ramp locations. Exhibit number 10 is a photo. And that's the end of my presentation if you have any questions.
So just to clarify, you said that according to CDOT, they will put in all the curbs all around the property?
Correct. To mitigate for increased vehicular traffic, they'll
Right.
install the pedestrian improvements that the Charlotte Walks plan calls for.
Okay. And they're doing this primarily because the current church has some structural issues? Was that one
Yes.
of their,
It sounded like a combination of the church having structural issues and also their congregation is growing and they need more space in the sanctuary.
thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Lisa, this is Marshall Williamson. Could you scroll back to the site plan? I noticed there's a stream and a buffer on the rear of the property, or is everybody, is the site plan conforming with all the buffers for the construction buffer and the stream back there?
Yes, it will have to conform. If the variance is approved and they're allowed to construct the new sanctuary, then the new development will have to be in compliance with all of today's regulations. So as a part of the land development review, it would be reviewed by Charlotte Mecklenburg Stormwater Services, who would look at those buffers.
Okay.
Is there a chance, Lisa, that this would have to come back to us if the city doesn't approve the buffer? I mean, I don't want us to have to revisit this.
They would be, it seemed like they would be able to comply with all the other regulations. It's just that they don't have that access and frontage on a collector, and Justice Avenue, you know, the class of the street is not going to change from a local. So they would need this variance.
Okay.
So the size of the church and the church addition and all that is all in compliant with the zoning of the property. It's just that it's not allowed to be on a non-collector street.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I see where the existing parking is. So where would the entrance now be? On Justice Avenue?
I believe they're planning on acquiring the corner lot on Eisenhower and Justice.
Uh-huh.
But all of that, you know, would be reviewed by the land development
Okay,
team.
land
And
development. Okay.
they do have, the property is pretty large, so they would have room to accommodate all of today's requirements.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommended condition.
Okay, along with staff recommendations. Do I have here a second?
Court seconds?
Thank you, Mr. Court. Roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. So we are approved. Do I have a motion to accept the finding of facts as written?
Court moves, accept the finding of facts as written.
Thank you, Mr. Court. Do I have a second?
Hamid, second.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. All right, roll call vote. Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
and Dryden, yes. So that variance is approved. Okay, Lisa, the last case on our recommended agenda.
All right, this is a residential setback variance request. And I'll give you a minute to look over your findings and just let me know when you'd like me to start.
Okay, Lisa, thank you.
Exhibit number 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit number 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned R3 single family, and it's located in the Mountain Island Lake Watershed Overlay Critical Area 4. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map of the property. And exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. The lot has existed since on or before 1989, according to historic zoning maps, and it meets the definition of a nonconforming vacant lot. The ordinance permits homes to be built on nonconforming vacant lots if they can meet setbacks, yard, and parking requirements. Exhibit number 6 is the variance request. The required setback for the property is 30 feet, but there's an existing septic system located in the center of the property. The applicant is requesting a 15-foot variance from the 30-foot setback to construct a home on the property. Exhibit number 7 is considerations. The hardship was not caused by the applicant and is caused by property conditions. The lot is an inverted V shape and decreases in depth toward the middle. There's an existing septic field and septic tank encumbering the majority of the buildable area in the center of the property. There's significant topography on the property with a grade change of 20 feet from the front to the rear of the property, preventing building placement at the rear of the property. And you can see in the center photo how the property drops off in the rear. So you can see kind of the erosion and the drop off. To the right, you can see the topography and 10-foot intervals. Exhibit number 8 is considerations. Granting the variance will not alter the character of the area. The variance will allow a home depth that's consistent with other homes in the area. The vegetation and variable right-of-way along Muscadine Lane will make the requested variance hard to detect. The variance will uphold public safety. The applicant states there will not be a garage and the driveway will meet the required 20-foot driveway length per code. Exhibit number 9 is a photo of the subject property. And that's the end of my presentation if you have any questions for me.
So Lisa, the entrance to the home, the driveway would still be on Muscadine
Correct.
Lane? Okay. And there is room for a driveway if we approve this variance?
Yes.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, do I have a vote to approve this variance?
Hamid, motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Williamson, second.
Okay, we'll do the roll call vote. Mr. Williamson,
Yes.
Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid.
Hamid, yes.
It's approved. The finding of facts, do I have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
Long
Move
makes
to
a motion
approve finding of facts.
Okay, do I
Court.
have a second?
Long seconds.
Okay. Ms. Long, a roll call vote.
Sorry, yes. Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
and Dryden votes yes. So the variance is approved. We have one case on the regular agenda. Someone is here to speak in opposition. Is that correct, Terry?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Board, we've been at this for a little while. Would you like to take a 10-minute break or go ahead and finish this case?
No break needed here.
Okay.
Long, Grace, I'm fine. Keep going.
Okay. All right. We'll hear this regular agenda item Lisa, you may begin.
Okay, the next case is a residential access, accessory dwelling unit, and accessory structure variance. The applicant is requesting 3 variances, and what they'd like to do is construct a new home towards the rear of the existing structures on the property and be able to maintain the existing garage and maintain and utilize the existing home as an accessory dwelling unit. And in order to do this, they need an access variance from the required 15-foot exclusive easement, a variance to allow an existing accessory structure in the established setback, and a variance to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the established setback and not within the rear yard. So I'll give you a minute to look over your findings and just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Lisa.
All right, Exhibit 1 is a vicinity map of the property. Exhibit 2 is a zoning map. The property is zoned R3 Single Family Residential. Exhibit number 3 is an aerial map. So you can see that the property is accessed off this shared easement coming down from Prosperity Church Road. Exhibit number 4 is a close-up aerial map of the property. Exhibit number 5 is background. The property is over 3.5 acres, and there's a home and garage that were built in 1955 on the property. The property doesn't abut a street and shares a 20-foot wide easement with several other properties. Lots that don't abut a street must have an exclusive easement. The lot is non-conforming since it doesn't have the exclusive easement required. Exhibit number 6 is the variance requests. The applicants wish to construct a new home behind the existing home and garage. They would like to maintain the garage and use the existing home as an accessory dwelling unit. Once the new home is built, the garage and ADU will be located in the established front yard. The ordinance does not permit accessory structures in the established setback, and ADUs must be located in the rear yard. The applicants are requesting 3 variances to permit the new home while maintaining the existing structures. The first is a variance from the exclusive easement requirement to allow them to get a building permit while using the shared easement. Another is a variance to allow an accessory structure in the established setback. And third is a variance to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the established setback and not in the rear yard. Exhibit 7 is considerations. Staff supports the requested variance. The hardship wasn't caused by the applicant and was caused by property conditions. The applicants purchased the property as it currently exists in 2020. The existing 1955 home on the property is 768 square feet, and the applicants would like a larger home. Strict application of the ordinance would not permit the applicant to keep the garage and to keep the existing home to use as an ADU. Granting the variance will not alter the character of the area because although the access side of the property is considered the front, the home is not oriented towards any street. The property can't be seen from the public right-of-way, so the variance would not be easy to detect. The applicant has provided architectural elevations and state they are in keeping with neighborhood character. The variance upholds public safety because the shared 20-foot wide easement provides access to the property. Exhibit number 8 is a photo of the easement leading to the property. And that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions for me, as you know, we also have neighbors who have signed up to speak.
Does the board have any questions for staff?
Can you clarify the single family house that's currently on the property is what they want to utilize as the ADU? Are they removing the existing detached garage?
No, they'd like to maintain both the existing home on the property and the existing garage and build the new structure. And so by doing so, then for the new principal structure, the area between that structure and what's considered the front of the property where the access comes in is considered an established setback. And you can't have accessory structures in that area. And also ADUs are only allowed in rear yards. So they're trying to keep the existing garage and keep the existing principal structure as an accessory dwelling unit.
Thank you.
Lisa, do you know how many other homes share this easement?
I pulled up a 1988 easement agreement, and I'm not exactly sure how many homes currently share this, or this is the most recent. It looked like about 5 or 6 homes on this old easement agreement. The variance wouldn't change the easement in any way because the city doesn't have the authority to do that. It would just be allowing them to not have the required exclusive easement that they need by code. So the easement would remain the same as it is and shared by the same people with whatever agreements are in place.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
This is Marshall Williamson. Did anyone look at the potential of subdividing the lot to create a new lot that might be in compliance?
They wouldn't have the 15-foot exclusive easement to allow them to subdivide. If they subdivided then each lot would need that 15-foot exclusive easement to obtain a building permit. So this could be, depending on your view, considered more compliant than subdividing off another property without the exclusive easement requirement.
Okay.
Any other questions for the board? Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Sanchez-Myers, who speaks first, the applicant or the people in opposition?
So the applicant is next and has the opportunity to present any information, and then the board can ask the applicant questions. And then if there are others who wish to speak, then they can have a turn.
Okay, applicants, that would be Bradley and Haley Freeze. Are you on the Zoom call?
Madam Chair, both are on. They'll need to be sworn in. I've made them
Okay.
panelists.
All right, Ms. Bradley and Haley, do you swear to and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes.
I do.
All right. All right, you may go ahead with your testimony.
Well, I've spoken to, I'm sorry, I've got an echo in my headphones. Let me just take these out. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I've spoken to my neighbors and we all had a misunderstanding. We thought that, just not being familiar with city verbiage and how easements necessarily work, we thought that the easement would be changing from a non-exclusive to an exclusive easement. So I went over, I spoke to them, we've got all that cleared up. And to my knowledge, the only other issue that my neighbors might have is the way that the new home would affect drainage to their property. And I've also assured them that where the new home is going to be located is past the high point of our property. So all water going that would be affected by our new home isn't going to be flowing towards their property. It's not going to change anything about the way water drains to their homes. But other than that, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Okay. All right. We have someone to speak in opposition.
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll go ahead and we'll go in alphabetical order.
Okay.
The first up's going to be Bill Bernard.
Okay, Mr. Bernard, do you agree and affirm to tell the truth? You swear to agree and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes, I do.
All right, sir, you may state your case.
And I apologize if I'm asking you to repeat anything that you've already mentioned, but it sounds like if this is approved, that the shared access to the easement will still be in effect. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. Staff?
Yes, that is correct. It won't change the easement agreement at all.
Okay, that's great. That's my primary concern. So what essentially is changing with the easement then, if this is approved?
It's allowing him to utilize the easement as it exists today. There's a ordinance requirement in our zoning ordinance that he has to have his own 15-foot exclusive easement for his property in order to get a building permit. Obviously, he doesn't have that. You guys have a shared easement. So this variance is from that zoning ordinance requirement, but it doesn't change anything about the easement itself. It just allows him to use that easement and not be in compliance with the zoning ordinance.
Okay, because exclusive sounds like exclusive sounds exclusive to me. That was my concern.
Yeah, so he doesn't have the exclusive easement, which is why he needs the variance to use the existing shared easement.
Okay. No, then as long as I still have access to it, I am one of the houses that are in your diagram. I have no concerns, and I wish Haley and Brad the best of luck.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bernard. I
Sure, thank you.
appreciate. Okay, next.
The next is going to be Brenda Adeline.
Okay. Miss Adeline, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes, my husband Bill is here as well.
Mr. Adeline, Mr. Bill Adeline, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes.
Okay, all right, state your case, please.
Our case was the same as Mr. Bernard. First, Mr. Freeze has never spoken to us about this, but we were also concerned about the exclusive easement clause. Because when we purchased our home, we do use that easement, for deliveries for yard supplies or building supplies like repairing our fence and so forth. So when we purchased the home, we were told, and we have documentation that this was a permanent, all exclusive easement. And as long as that remains the same, we're fine and wish them well also.
Any comments, Lisa?
No, just again, that the easement's not changing. It's just that they're asking for a variance from the zoning ordinance requirements. So they're not getting any kind of easement agreement changes.
Okay, we're fine with that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Here.
Next is going to be Joe Wiseman.
Mr. Wiseman, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing this morning?
Fine, I hope you are. All right, Mr. Wiseman, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Yes, I do.
All right. Continue, sir.
All right. My biggest concern, I have not talked to Bradley yet, but that's okay. I'm on the back side of the property, and my biggest concern is that property is elevated above ours. We're below it, and we get all of the drainage off of that property through the back of our yard. And last summer, when there was a lot of work going on there, we had lots of sediment coming through the yard and lots of drainage issues. And my concern is with a building being that close to the east, to the property line, that's going to affect our drainage regardless of, like, some kind of mitigation is going to have to happen because of the elevation change from theirs to ours, seeing as how we're lower. That's my main concern. And that's my main reason for the opposition is that we need that area for drainage.
Could I speak to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Sure. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I do apologize for that. Last year, we were trying to get that field cleared out. Since then, I have put a bit of a breakwater area in with some rocks and crushed up cinder blocks that now catch the sediment, slow the water down. And I've also worked with, I'm not sure on which side, I think it's on your right side, neighbor Heidi. I've gone back there and I've removed most of that sediment and I've regraded their property in the back, and I think we're good there. And I'd be more than willing to do the same on yours.
well, once that had happened, it actually changed the direction of the flow of the water, because it did used to flow down the hill and collect and go across the back of our backyard. And now instead it goes through I'm at 10327. It goes through 10325's backyard directly towards my garage. So I get a stream and puddles that pile up against the base of my house when we have torrential rains like we do here in Charlotte. And that is still continuing. And that didn't happen 2 years ago. So that's my primary concern about this project.
Right. I absolutely understand. And I would love to look further into that and see what we can do to mitigate that.
So that's my primary opposition. Other than that, I wish you all luck. But I figure I need to get on here and say something.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wiseman.
Yep.
All right.
Next is going to be Catherine Pazamino.
All right. Ms. Pazmino, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
I do.
All right. Continue.
So my concern is also with the easement, and I know that y'all have clarified it. I'm still a little bit confused of why the verbiage has to say exclusive when the easement is non-exclusive right now, and how that doesn't change anything.
So the exclusive word comes from our zoning ordinance. Our zoning ordinance requires that if you have a lot and it's not on a street, that it have its own 15-foot exclusive easement. So this is required in order to be able to obtain a building permit, and the applicant would like a building permit. So in order to get that building permit, he's got to get a variance, which gives him relief from that ordinance. So it kind of excuses him from having to meet that requirement. So the reason why we put that is because that's the requirement that he needs the variance from. He can't meet that because it's a shared easement. So
I understand that, but the verbiage is still doesn't make sense to me, because if he doesn't have exclusive access to that easement, and then y'all are changing the verbiage to exclusive, I don't understand how that's possible without giving him exclusive access to the easement.
we're just allowing him to not have to have that exclusive easement that's required by ordinance.
No, you're saying he's getting exclusive easement, because that's what the verbiage says, is you're allowing access for an exclusive easement, but he does not have an exclusive easement. It's a shared easement. It's non-exclusive, and y'all are changing it, the verbiage, to exclusive. And I understand you're saying that's not going to change anything, but I mean, you have to understand where I'm confused and concerned with that.
Can we reread the variance verbiage?
Who would you like to reread that?
I don't know who reads that.
Well, okay, this is Shad Spencer. I'm not sure how to more clearly state this, but basically, the current easement is a shared easement.
Correct.
If the
It's
variance,
non-exclusive. It's not, yeah.
that's
it's shared.
correct.
Correct.
That is correct. Correct. If the variance is granted by the board,
Mm-hmm.
then that would allow this applicant to utilize the current shared easement
So
to then,
he would just be coming into the shared clause, basically, is what you're saying. It does, even though the verbiage says exclusive easement, he's just sharing. He's coming under the clause of non-exclusive.
right, yeah. It
Okay.
would be using the shared easement as it is today in order to then obtain the building permit for the new home.
Okay. I think I'm understanding, even though I still don't understand like why it has to be worded that way. But if you're reassuring me that it doesn't change anything, then it doesn't change anything.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any further questions except for also the grading and the drainage, because we as well, water flows into our backyard. But it seems like something that's going to have to be discussed with obviously in mitigation. I don't really think where he's setting his house is going to affect us, so I'm not too concerned about the grading. And he said that he's not going to put a concrete driveway, it's going to be gravel, so I'm not too worried about that. But thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Next up, Michael Tony.
Mr. Tony.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here and to identify maybe some verbiage here in the easement agreement. I think was a little bit concerning to most of us, and I think what has been expressed to this point is satisfying to me, as it appears to be satisfying to others. In that the language from the easement agreement, which says a permanent non-exclusive easement and right-of-way for pedestrian and vehicular ingress, egress, and regress over and upon the property will
Mr.
still
Itis,
stand. I'm sorry.
I don't believe you were sworn in yet.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
apologize. You were not, Mr. Tony.
I'm sorry.
My fault. Mr. Tony, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
I will.
Thank you. I apologize. Okay.
That's
So
okay.
all right, go ahead with your concern.
Thank you. I think everything has been addressed quite sufficiently in putting our minds at ease, those of us who have properties that border the easement, in that through this meeting, we're understanding that the permanent non-exclusive easement and right-of-way for pedestrian and vehicular ingress, egress, and regress over and upon the property will remain in effect, and also that the person to whom this letter was written in 1998, the former homeowner of where the Pasminos now reside, but the information from the attorney continues to say you clearly have right, along with the other adjoining landowners, to use this road. So I think if that is remaining in effect, I know I'm very comfortable with that. And as I spoke with Mr. Freeze yesterday, we welcome him to the neighborhood, and we're excited for his opportunity to build the house of his dreams back there. And so we're grateful for that, and we certainly welcome Mr. Freeze and his family into the neighborhood. I would just add to the discussion that has already been raised And that is that I would just kindly ask that strategic consideration be given to grading, sloping, and other matters related to civil engineering when construction site planning and preparation and development begin. And it sounds like Mr. Freeze has already given some attention to that in the ways of some rock work and grading and whatnot. And I don't know if something else like a holding basin or some kind of retention construction there on the property would help with that. But I think as long as will continue to have access to the easement, as my wife and I have had since we moved here in 2005, as long as that continues, and as long as there's some strategic attention given to grading and site development, I'm very happy with that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tony. Terry, anyone else?
Last one, Madam Chair, Tara White.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Ms. White, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
I do.
Okay. Then you may continue.
Okay. Actually, at this point, I no longer oppose the variance, and I wish the Freezes the best of luck.
All right. Thank you, Ms. White. I appreciate it. Anyone else?
We do have one call-in user. Let me see if I can unmute them, get some further clarification. Call-in user 9.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Which case are you here for?
Yes. Yes, my daughter Tara White just represented me.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all, Madam Chair.
All right. Does the board have any questions of the applicant or of the people who came on in opposition?
No questions.
No questions.
No
Okay.
questions.
If not, this concludes the presentation of evidence. The board will now begin its deliberations. Interested parties are not permitted to address the board during the portion of today's meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board's discussion. Okay. Any discussion? Let's start with Mr. Williamson.
My only comment is that in the future, the granting of the variance for the easement would be exclusive to this owner and would not come into effect if somebody wanted to subdivide the property, if he were to ever sell the property and move.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking, Mr. Williamson.
Well, and I think Lisa addressed my question at the beginning, but if someone were to subdivide the 3-acre lot, in R3, you could presumably build 3 houses on that lot. And there was, she said that they wouldn't be able to subdivide the lot because it didn't have an exclusive access easement. So if we're granting a variance for that exclusive access agreement, then I would want that to be applied solely to this construction of this one single family home on the lot, rather than somebody come in later, 10 years from now, and find some sort of loophole through this variance to then subdivide the lot and build 2 more houses.
Okay, I understand what you're asking. I don't know if we have that, if we can make that stipulation. Attorneys may have some advice on that.
So, Madam Chair, I'll jump in first. The variance runs with the land. So it's not just, would not just be particular to this landowner. I'm gonna have to refer you to staff or to maybe provide more information on the other questions. But I believe you need to the hearing because it is closed for deliberation.
Right, I
believe.
understand that. Okay, all right, thank you. We'll continue our discussion and then we'll, if we need to, we'll address staff again. But for clarification purposes, this variance goes with the land. So I don't think it can be subdivided because this variance only applies to this piece of land. But we'll clarify that in a little bit. Anyone, okay, Ms. Long, do you have any comments?
No, it seemed like there was two concerns. One was the verbiage with easement, which I believe has been, everyone understands. And the second is grading, and the Freezes seem to be open to working with their neighbors on any issues that might arise.
Thank you. Mr. Court, comments?
My comments would just be that it seems like the matters that we're considering as far as an ADU in a rear yard or accessory structures not being permitted in an established setback or not of specific concern to those in opposition. It was the other matters, but those would be my comments.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hamid, comments?
I mean, no additional comments.
Right. I agree. I believe that the issue of that was most prevalent was the concern about the easement verbiage. I am a little bit concerned about some of the neighbors with the grading and sloping, but the applicant has said that he would be open to dealing with that in support of his neighbors. I'd like to reopen the case just so we can clarify with staff, please, about the this easement business. What would happen if down the road this property was sold and it wanted to be subdivided? Lisa?
Okay, the property would not be allowed to be subdivided. In your staff findings, there's section 12.101, every lot must abut a street. So it says that any lot which does not abut a street, a single-family detached dwelling may be constructed on a lot that does not abut a street, provided that it is at least 2 acres in size and has its own 15-foot exclusive easement for the exclusive use of the detached dwelling. So the property is about 3.75 acres. So you wouldn't be able to meet the size requirement to subdivide, but also you don't have 2 exclusive easements leading out to the property that would allow for an exclusive easement for each property. So you wouldn't be able to subdivide. So the variance would only allow them to get a permit for a single family home on the property. And another consideration is that variances expire after 2 years. So he'll get his building permit for the new home within the 2 years. And then anything outside of that, the variance is not going to cover it.
Okay. All right, Mr. Williamson, does that answer your questions?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the case that we're now into, we'll go back into deliberations. Do I hear a motion about this case?
Court, I move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Court. Do I hear a second?
Long seconds.
Okay, now roll call vote, please. Ms. Long?
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson?
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court?
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid?
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. Right, to approve the finding of facts. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the finding of facts.
And you, thank you, Mr. Court. All right, second.
Hamid second.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. All right, we'll now do a roll call vote. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. Thank you all that spoke on this case, but it has been approved. All right. That concludes our recommended and agenda item, regular agenda items. Now we have to approve the minutes from our December meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve? Have you had a chance to pull them up and read them?
Madam Chair, I sent emails to the new board members
Okay,
to review the December and January agenda meeting minutes.
okay. Would you like to give them a few minutes to do that?
Yes, ma'am. If they could just check their emails real quick.
Okay. And Terry, I couldn't find my finding of facts. All I had was the agenda and all the paperwork, but I didn't see the
Did you check your email this morning? If
yeah,
not,
I
I can
did.
resend them.
I pulled it up, but all I found were 2 attachments.
Okay, I'll resend them.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
the same thing, actually. The
Okay.
Yeah, I
presentation
think you
was on
forgot
the
to attach the finding of facts. You attached the minute, the meeting agenda and all of the paperwork for all the cases, but not the finding of facts.
They should be in a combined folder, but I'll resend them individually.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
I think I got them.
I don't know, I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking. It looks like there's a PDF that says finding of facts combined. And then when you click on that, then there's like a table on the left of the various PDFs. And if you just click on that, it'll go from case to case. But that's what I got. So I don't know if that's what
Well, I
y'all
see
got.
that combined, but then I see case numbers. But that's all I see. When I get to the end, there's no finding of facts, there's just the cases.
So you should be able to click on each individual case and it'll open up each individual.
Yeah, I think I had to double click on it or something.
Oh, so you click on each case and it gives you the, okay.
You probably have to double click too. It's kind of a weird document.
Yeah, I see it now. I was looking on my iPad, which it was not coming up, but on my computer it is.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm on my iPad too and I don't see it, but if they're there, then.
They are on your email.
So you just click, okay, well then I'll look when I get to my regular computer. I just didn't want to, I usually do that on my iPad. Okay, that's okay. Okay, Mr. Hamid and Mr. Court, have you had an opportunity to look at the board meeting minutes?
I have.
I have.
All right. May we have a motion to approve the December meeting minutes?
Williamson, motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Do I have a second?
1 second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. And now we'll do a roll call. Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. All right, a motion to approve the January board meeting minutes.
January Friday factioning.
No, the January zoning board meeting, the minutes from our January board meeting.
I make a
okay.
motion to approve. Long makes a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Do I hear a second?
Hamid second.
Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Roll call vote, Ms. Long,
Long, yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Williamson, yes.
Mr. Court,
Court, yes.
Mr. Hamid,
Hamid, yes.
Dryden, yes. Okay, I'd like to take a moment, board members, to officially welcome Mr. Court and Mr. Hamid to our board. You trial by fire, you got dumped right in this morning, but we appreciate your participation and I look forward to meeting you in person. Hopefully we'll get to do that in March. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn?
Nice job, Deborah.
Thank you very much. I apologize
Yeah,
for
good job,
any hiccups there. All right, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good day.
Thank you.
Nice to
Bye-bye.
meet everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Meet you.